What's going on, everyone? This is Brett Darian, and right now, as I speak, it is just after midnight on September 29th, 2021, which means that exactly 25 years ago right now, back in 1996, someone was at a midnight launch party, waiting in line to be one of the first few to buy their Nintendo 64 and bring it home and most likely start playing Super Mario 64. What a revolutionary game this was. It really surprised all of us. It really boggled all of our minds, and it really changed gaming forever, really. So what this video is going to be is I am going to be telling you my memories of Nintendo 64, my experiences with it, the games I've played, and why you should maybe still own a Nintendo 64. So stay tuned for all that. So the first time I played a Nintendo 64 was at a Sears. Remember when pretty much every mall had a Sears? Well, that's where I first played the Nintendo 64. I remember that because most Sears had a electronics section with video games in it, and I would often go to the electronics section of the Sears in my local mall, and I remember they had a Virtual Boy set up there, and they also had a Nintendo 64 set up, and they were demoing Super Mario 64. So of course I played it, I loved it, I wanted one, but I didn't get one immediately because at the time I had a Super Nintendo. And the Super Nintendo was my very first console. Like, it was the very first game console my dad ever bought me when I was a little kid, like probably back in like 95 or something, when I was 6 years old. And so when the N64 came out in 96, I had only had the SNES for like 1 year, so I didn't actually end up getting an N64 until the following year in 1997. And I remember what we did was before we bought the N64, I had to sell my Super Nintendo. And so what we did was we sold my Super Nintendo to someone we knew at the time. And then when we sold it, we went back to that Sears and we got the N64 and I took it home. Now, funny enough, I actually remember sitting in the back seat on the way home and just looking at the box. Like, just looking at the box was just amazing. Like, man, look at the console, look at the controller, like, look how weird it looks. I mean, I remember that. And then I remember getting home and what I did was I popped in Mario Kart 64 because I actually didn't play Super Mario 64 when I got home immediately. What I actually played was Mario Kart 64. And I remember staying up till like maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, which at the time was very late for me. And I remember staying up till like 1 or 2 in the morning just playing Mario Kart. I mean, just driving around the tracks and racing and trying to win. I mean, it was really fun. And I ended up getting Super Mario 64 a little bit after that. And of course, lots of memories with that game. I really enjoyed showing it to my friends and being wowed by it and just running around and jumping around for hours. I mean, it was really, really cool. But back to the Super Nintendo for just a second. The Super Nintendo is actually celebrating its 30-year anniversary this year because it came out in 1991 here in America. But unfortunately, I do not have a Super Nintendo to show you, so I won't be doing a video on that. But I honestly didn't really have many games for the Super Nintendo when I was a kid. The only few games I remember having for it and playing on it were Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario World, Super Mario RPG, Super Mario Kart, and Toy Story. And I think that's it. I think that's all the games I played on the Super Nintendo back when I was a kid. I think that was it. So, yeah, not very many, but hey, I still had a great time with it, and I still love the Super Nintendo. But I was really excited to get the N64 because obviously the graphics were full 3D. Mario Kart 64 looked awesome. Super Mario 64 looked awesome, and I mean, yeah. So it was a really, really good time to upgrade from 32-bit to 64-bit. So here I have a stack of games. Now I divided these games up into 2 stacks. This stack of games here are games that I have played as a kid. They're not the exact same cartridges, obviously, but they are the same games. These games are games that I played as a kid. And this stack here are games that I have bought more recently as an adult, and I have not played them as a kid. So that's this stack, and this stack are games that I did play as a kid. So we will go through those right now, obviously starting with Super Mario 64, as I just said. You know, it's a classic. We've probably all played it if you were a kid in the 90s. You probably played this game, and you know how great it is. Next up, Donkey Kong 64. This game, some people don't like it. Some people think that it's just a big collectathon, and there's too many things to collect. And I guess I can kind of understand that, but honestly, I still really like this game. Like, this is a game by Rare, you know, they make great stuff, and it's just a really fun game, and I just really, really love DK64. Yes, there are a lot of things to collect, but I mean, at least there is a point to it. Like, they do something in the game. So they do unlock something, or they give you a new ability, or you can buy things with the coins or whatever. I mean, so yeah. I really like DK64. Yoshi Story. I remember my mom told me when I was like 10 years old, or 11 years old, that she thought this game was for babies. She really did say that. And I was like, but Mom, it says E. It's E for everyone, so everyone can play it. And so, I don't know. But yeah, I like this game. It's arguably not as good as Super Mario Brothers 2, you know, Yoshi's Island. But it's still a great game. I still enjoyed it back then. It's got some neat music, and it's just, you know, it's Yoshi Story. It's cool. Mischief Makers. This game, strange enough, I remember my dad actually suggesting this game to me. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it was just the name, Mischief Makers. Like, hey, you're a child, you know, you love mischief, so Mischief Makers. I mean, Mischief Makers, those are kids, right? Kids are mischief makers. So maybe that's why he suggested this game to me. I'm really not sure. But he actually recommended I play this game. And yes, I actually did like this game. And even now, I think this game is like kind of forgotten. Like, I think it's kind of underrated now. But this actually is a cool game. You should check it out if you like platformers. Bomberman 64. I was actually surprised about how poor reviews this game got when it came out. Now, back when the N64 was relevant, I didn't really check out like game review sites or anything. I was just too young to really care or anything. Plus, we didn't have high-speed internet, so I really didn't do any of that. But later on, I was surprised to find out like some of these games I liked got really bad reviews, and this was one of them. I think GameSpot gave it like a 4 out of 10 or something. But I remember really liking this game as a kid. And I still do. I still think this is a good Bomberman game. It's definitely a lot better than Bomberman X-Zero, that's for sure. Bomberman Hero. Now, I will say this game I probably like a little better than Bomberman 64. But yeah, this game I've beaten several times over the years since I was a kid. And I really enjoy playing through all the levels, and I really like the music in this game, like the drum and bass music and stuff. I like that kind of music, and so I really like playing this game today. Diddy Kong Racing. I I'm not going to get into that debate if this game is better than Mario Kart 64 or not. It could be, but that's entirely up to you to decide. But either way, there's no doubting that this game is awesome. This is a very great racing game, and it might come to the Switch too now, because it was just recently announced that Nintendo 64 games are going to come to the Nintendo Switch Online, and I think this game might be one of them. So that'd be really cool, especially if it has online capabilities. That'd be really sweet. So yeah, I look forward to playing that. Next up, Mickey Speedway USA. Now this game, this is another Rareware game, so it's definitely got the Rareware charm to it, I guess. Though admittedly, this is not one of Rare's best games on the system. This game it's not quite as awesome as it sounds. Like, oh, Mickey Speedway USA. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it could be a little better. Like, I definitely enjoy, like, Disney's Magical Racing Tour on the Dreamcast. I enjoyed that better than this one, but for what it is, this is a good racing game. You should check it out. Cruisin USA. Now, this game I actually first played on the actual arcade machine. I remember we would go to a Walmart pretty often, and they would have the Cruisin USA arcade machine set up right there by the entrance. And I would play it pretty often, and I was really excited to be able to play it right at home. So, really awesome to have this copy. So still a great game today. Beetle Adventure Racing. Now, this game is not typically a game that I would enjoy, but I have good memories of this game because I would play this game a lot with my dad, because my dad was a big Volkswagen guy. He liked Volkswagens, and this game is all Volkswagens. You can only race as Beetles. So he really liked this game. He liked playing with me, and so yeah, some good memories with this game. California Speed. This game, I think, is another game that didn't get many good reviews. And admittedly, if I did not play this game as a kid, I may not like it today. I might just think it's kind of mediocre and I probably wouldn't care about it. But I did play this game a lot as a kid. I really liked some of the music, and yeah, so I do like this game. I have some nostalgia for it, so that probably makes it better for me. But yeah, there is something about this game. Some of the tracks are cool, like you're racing through a mall and you're racing through, like, I think an alien like aircraft or something. So it does have some creative tracks, so it's still worth checking out. It's pretty cheap, so you check it out if you see it. Top Gear Rally. This is a game that perhaps hasn't aged very well, but back in the day, I really enjoyed this game. And in fact, I have a story to tell about this game. This is a game that I rented a couple of times back in the day, and really liking it. And so one day, me and my dad just went back to the mall, went back to that Sears, and he bought this game for me. And I remember how much he paid for it. It was $70. I specifically remember the price tag that was on the game box. It was $70 even. And that was back in like 1997 or 8. So it was probably 1998. But yeah, back then we paid $70 for a game. And now we're paying $70 for games, but with inflation, that's actually not as expensive as this cost back then. So, yeah. And finally, Penny Racers. This is another game that I rented a couple of times. I don't remember if I actually ever owned this game, though, back when I was a kid, but I know I had played it a couple of times. What I liked most about this game was the track editor. I liked going and editing tracks and making my own and kind of fooling with it. So that's my that's what I remember most about this game. The actual racing itself is kind of like the graphics are a little funny. But there actually is a sequel to this game that only came out in Japan, and I think that one is a little better. But still, this game is kind of cool if you like racing games, you know, kind of like, you know, kind of cutesy, little, because you race this like very tiny little cars. So if you like games like that, you can check out Penny Racers. Okay, so that is all of the games that I played as a kid. Now, and this is the even bigger stack, these are all the games that I have now, obviously, but I did not play as a kid, so I've been more recently introduced to them. So first off, we have Rocket, Robot on Wheels. Now, I have not played this game as much as I would like to, but this is a 3D platform made by, I think, the same people that went on to make Sly Cooper. So Sucker Punch, I think they're called. So this is actually a good game to check out. I don't think this game is very well known. So if you like 3D platformers, check this one out. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Now, there is no way I would have been able to play this game as a kid. It's rated mature. My mom did not want me playing mature games. So there's no way I would have been able to play this game as a kid. Honestly, this game, yeah, it's mature, but it's mature humor mostly. It's, you know, it's mostly like it's also immature at the same time, you know, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, this is a fun game. It's got a lot of that mature humor, crude humor. So if you're into that kind of thing, you'll definitely like this one. This game is really expensive now too. I think this is over $100 game. Glover, this is a game that I also never played. I never really knew much about it. But I have played this a little bit, and it is an interesting idea. It's not a game that I'll probably beat and finish, but, you know, but it is cool. Rampage World Tour. This is another game that I probably won't really play that much, but just for what it is, it's a good, like, just, you know, like if you're upset and you just want to like punch things and beat things up, if you want to let off some steam, this is a good game for that. Because you're tearing down buildings and stuff. It's, you know, it looks kind of cool. Blast Corps, yeah, Blast Corps. This game is actually also made by Rare, though strangely the Rare symbol is not on the cartridge. But yeah, this is a game. Again, didn't really know anything about it when I was a kid, never heard of it. But this game actually is fun. You're just destroying things, destroying buildings and stuff. It actually is kind of fun. I'm trying to hurry up here. I don't want this video to be too long. San Francisco Rush Extreme Racing. Now, this game I'm actually unsure of. I'm not sure if I played this as a kid or not. I might have rented it once. I'm not really sure. But I know I didn't own it. And I mean, this game is like, it's not bad. Like, if you played it back then, I'm sure it was great. But me playing it now, probably not playing it as a kid, I'm like, I don't know. And also, some of the music is, I don't really like some of the songs in this game. Like, they're so bad that they're also kind of cool. Like, you know what I mean? But still, it's still cool to try out, still cool to play. And I know this game was probably really popular in arcades and stuff, like Cruisin USA was. And I think this game, this version of the game, I think, is better than the PlayStation version. So if you're going to play this game, play this version. Cruisin Exotica. Now, I never played these other cruising games. The only cruising game I played as a kid was Cruisin USA. I never played Cruisin World, never played Cruisin Exotica. But it's nice to have this copy of the game. And it's basically the cruising game, only instead of racing around the USA, you're racing around crazy fantasy tracks. So if you like the cruising games, You should like that one. Now I don't have Cruisin World, unfortunately. I will get it. I will get it at some point, but I don't have it yet. Rave Race 64. Yeah, I never played this as a kid, and I never owned it or anything. But it is pretty cool. I usually like water games and water racing games, so nice to have this one. Micro Machines 64 Turbo. I also, of course, never heard of this as a kid. I never heard anything about Micro Machines. I didn't play anything with the toys either. I didn't have any of the Micro Machine cars or toys or anything, so I was not familiar with this at all. But I have been starting to get into it a little bit recently. I've been trying to play some of the games, and they are pretty fun, but they are a little challenging to master. At least for me, they are anyway. But they are cool. I definitely like all the environments you can race around in, like in your house and stuff. I like those kind of games. Buck Bumble, another game that is kind of strange. It's probably not a game I'm going to play that much of, but yeah, this game's just weird. I think you're just you're flying around as a bee, and you might be a wasp. I'm not sure. But yeah, like, or maybe you're a bumblebee. I mean, that's why it's called Buck Bumble. But anyway, you're flying around as a bee, and I think you're just like, I'm not really sure, because I never actually played this game. Like, I just, I've watched a couple of videos, but I never actually played the game. So, I don't really know much about it, honestly. Perfect Dark. I never played this either, but it is a Rareware game, so you know it's good. I never played GoldenEye though, and obviously this is a mature game, so I obviously couldn't play it as a kid anyway. Really not probably my type of game. I don't really like playing first-person shooters on consoles, but everyone really praises this game, so I'm sure it's great. Just not really my type of game. Star Fox 64. I mean, once again, it's a game that is great, but I never played it. I probably would enjoy it, though, if I actually were to play it. It's just that some of these games I haven't actually started to play yet. One day I'll get around to playing this one and enjoying it. Snowboard Kids 2. This is another game that's become kind of valuable recently. I don't have the first game. I'll try to find that one somewhere. But yeah, Snowboard Kids 2. It's kind of like Mario Kart, only on snowboards, on skis, and you're snowboarding. You know, I mean, it's cool. It's pretty fun. Milo's Astro Lanes. This is a bowling game, but with a twist. I mean, it is fun. If you like bowling games, check it out. And finally, the last game I have physically for the N64, Stunt Racer 64. Now, I've done a video on this. This is not a legit copy of the game. It's a reproduction cartridge. But this is a game that was only released to Blockbuster, and you can only rent it or buy it from Blockbuster. And it's a racing game, obviously, Stunt Racer 64. And I want to play the game on my actual console, but I didn't want to pay like $300 to own a legit copy. So I just went ahead and bought a reproduction cartridge. So if you want to know more about this game, watch my video on it. I showed some gameplay and everything. So, I mean, it actually is pretty cool. Okay, so that is all of the games that I have for the Nintendo 64 currently, as of right now. A couple other things I'll say is that the Nintendo 64 did have an add-on. It was called the 64DD. And that only came out in Japan. And honestly, that was probably the right move from Nintendo to not release that add-on here in the States. But I still kind of think that, well, I still kind of wish that they would have, because I think it would have been a really cool accessory. Because with that accessory, like what it was supposed to do was go into this expansion port underneath here, and it would attach to that, and then it would have its own games that were on like floppy disks or like zip drive, like discs, and they could hold more memory than the cartridges did, and you could use them to like add content to your original game. So think of like DLC without internet. It was just right there on the disc, and you just add that right to the game. One example of that actually did happen was F-Zero. There's a racing game for the N64 called F-Zero X, and there's an F-Zero X expansion that came out for the 64 DD in Japan. And if you put those two games together, that expansion actually gives you more tracks and a track editor and everything. So that was just a little taste of what the 64 DD could have done. But the 64 DD was just released too late. It wasn't released until like 1999, I think it was. But they actually mentioned it like before the N64 even came out. Before it even was released, they said, well, don't worry, we're going to have the 64 disk drive that comes out eventually. But it didn't come out until 1999. And by then, the 64 was already like more than halfway done with its lifespan. The GameCube was only 2 years away. So they just didn't release it here. Now, I would love to have a 64 DD, but unfortunately, they're very expensive, as you could probably guess. They're very expensive. The only ones you can get are Japanese because it was only released there, and so it's very expensive. And the few handful of games that came out for it are also expensive, and they're also very heavy Japanese, and I don't speak Japanese. I can't read Japanese. So probably wouldn't be worth the investment, but it would still be really, really cool to have one. Maybe one day, but right now, I'm just happy having the console. So, last few things I'll say about the 64. Nintendo 64 is an awesome game console. Have a lot of memories playing it as a kid. Played a lot of games on it. Lots of memories. The controller is like love it or hate it. Some people hate it. Some people think it's cool and revolutionary. I never had a problem with the controller. Though I usually played it like, people might usually say to hold the controller like this, or play it like this, because it's supposed to be a thumbstick, so you're supposed to use your thumb to play games with. But what I would do as a kid, and I still do now, this is how I played games. Was using my index finger and my thumb. So that's just the way I've always done it. I don't know why. I never did it like this. Never. That never felt natural to me. I just always played it like this. So that's how I played Nintendo 64 games, and still do. But other than that, I mean, the controller is fine. I don't find anything wrong with it. Though, of course, the N64 games, they had a tendency to wear out the joystick, especially the Mario Party games. So after a while, they wear out, and so that's unfortunate. But other than that, the controller is fine. There are a few games here that are missing that I do not have here that I did play as a kid. That includes Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, really, really awesome games. Lots of fun. And the Mario Party games. I don't have any of the Mario Party games here, but I had all three. I had Mario Party 1, Mario Party 2, Mario Party 3. But I don't have them here right now because, well, they're really expensive today. And I don't have anyone here to play Mario Party with locally. So I'm like, I'm just gonna skip out and not really buy those games. Because I'm more of a practical collector. Like, if I buy a game, I actually have an intention to actually play it or at least try it out one day, and I have an interest in playing it. But the Mario Party games, I just wouldn't have any real use for playing today. So I'm not gonna go out and buy them. But still, they are good games. I actually like the Mario Party games. I played them with my mom a lot. So I do have memories with all the Mario Party games up until like Mario Party. I think Mario Party 8 is the last Mario Party game I played with my mom. After that, we kind of lost track. But anyhow, guys, that's my memories and my story of the Nintendo 64. hope you guys had a good time, and hope you guys enjoyed going down this trip down memory lane with me. So thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave a comment and tell me what your memories are of the Nintendo 64. And feel free to leave me a like if you like this video. And feel free to subscribe. It helps me out a lot. I appreciate it. And thank you for watching. And I will see you next time.